Welcome to a battlefield of minds. Two grandmasters face off where every move cuts like a sword. One mistake, and it's over. This isn't just chess. It's war disguised as strategy. Let's dive in, move by move, into this epic clash. Wesley So opens with knight f3, a flexible probe toward the center, quietly preparing control without revealing attacking intentions too early. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave fires back with c5, unleashing Sicilian energy immediately, challenging central ambitions and promising sharp counterplay from the start. Wesley So advances c4, expanding queenside space and steering the struggle into English opening structures, aiming for long-term pressure and control. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave develops N6, reinforcing central influence and supporting future breaks, calmly matching white's spatial claims. Wesley So plays Nc3, completing harmonious development and strengthening central squares, pieces flowing smoothly into coordinated positions. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave strikes with e5, boldly seizing central territory and declaring direct confrontation instead of quiet maneuvering. Wesley So answers e3, solidifying the center, opening the bishop's path, and keeping pawn structure resilient under pressure. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave develops nf6, attacking central squares and increasing tension, pieces gathering for imminent clashes. Wesley So calmly places b2, preparing king's safety and maintaining flexibility, no rush while the center simmers. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave pushes d5, a powerful central break, forcing immediate structural decisions and sharpening the battlefield. Wesley So responds d4, meeting the challenge head-on, locking central pawns and committing to a concrete struggle. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave captures cx-d4, opening files and provoking imbalance, testing white's central coordination early. Wesley So recaptures xt4, accepting an isolated pawn, but gaining open lines and active piece prospects. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave thrusts e4, grabbing space aggressively and attacking the knight, momentum clearly building. Wesley So jumps near-f, planting a knight deep in enemy territory, signaling ambition and central dominance. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave takes dx-c4, grabbing material on the queenside and briefly diverting attention from the center. Wesley So answers bxc4, bishop slices actively, recapturing the pawn while gaining tempo and pressure. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave plays nx5, eliminating the advanced knight to simplify a dangerously centralized position. Wesley So recaptures dx-f5, restoring material balance and opening central files, tension thickening rapidly. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave trades queens with qx-d9, forcing simplification and checking, aiming for a technical endgame edge. Wesley So responds kx-d9. King steps forward bravely, accepting centralization for long-term activity and stability. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave jumps en4, knight attacks sharply, provoking weaknesses and creating tactical discomfort. Wesley So pushes e6, a dangerous pawn thrust, cramping black's structure and threatening to rip open lines. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave captures bx-x, sacrificing the bishop to neutralize the advanced pawn and reduce danger. Wesley So replies bx6, trading bishops while keeping central presence and initiative firmly alive. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave recaptures fx6, accepting doubled pawns but opening files, the position transformed into a tense endgame fight. Wesley So plays Enk c4, knight snaps a central pawn, citing initiative and improving piece activity in the newly clarified position. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave responds r8, Rook claims the open file, preparing counterplay and contesting central influence immediately. Wesley So pushes h3, calmly questioning the aggressive knight and preventing tactical annoyances around his king. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave retreats nf6, regrouping solidly and keeping defensive coordination intact despite earlier tensions. Wesley So centralizes with Rioni, Rook steps into action, reinforcing e-file pressure and preparing tactical ideas. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave develops b7, consolidating kingside defense and calmly preparing for a long endgame grind. Wesley So strikes nsf6, exchanging knight for bishop, inflicting structural damage and forcing a concession with check. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave recaptures bxf6, accepting the trade while trying to keep piece harmony. Wesley So explodes with rxcx, Rook crashes through the center, a forcing check that dramatically shifts momentum. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave steps kf7, king walks into danger, surviving but clearly uncomfortable under pressure. Wesley So retreats re2, calmly consolidating after the strike, keeping pressure without overextending resources. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave counters, with rhd8, Rook delivers check, attempting to seize initiative and disrupt coordination. Wesley So blocks with rd2, precise defense, Rooks cooperate to shield the centralized king. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave plays bd4, bishop plants, aggressively, centralizing and targeting vulnerable squares. Wesley So moves Keone, king sidesteps calmly, staying safe while maintaining central control. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave lifts rc6, Rook swings, laterally preparing flexible defense or counterattack. Wesley So repositions, re2, reinforcing the second rank and keeping rooks connected and flexible. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave doubles with rd8, Rooks coordinate menacingly, pressure intensifying along the c-file. Wesley So develops b3, directly challenging the centralized bishop and clarifying the tension. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave captures bxa3, choosing simplification to reduce white's attacking potential. Wesley So recaptures fc3, accepting structural weakness, but opening files for rooks and king activity. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave invades, with Arconeo, Rook penetrates deeply, forcing accurate calculation. Wesley So answers rx cone, exchanging rooks to relieve immediate pressure. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave recaptures Recaptconeo, maintaining activity and checking, refusing to go passive. Wesley So steps kd2, king marches confidently into the center, embracing the endgame fight. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave plays Raoune, Rook swings aggressively, eyeing queenside pawns and creating fresh threats. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave calmly marches his king to e6, signaling full entry into the endgame trenches, ready to fight Wesley So toe-to-toe. Wesley So slides his rook to f2, reinforcing the second rank while quietly preparing lateral pressure against Maxime's exposed kingside structure. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave answers with Argonne, the rook slicing across like a probing blade, checking weaknesses and teasing Wesley's king position. Wesley So steps his king to e2, choosing central coordination over fear, showing confidence as the endgame tension slowly tightens. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave repositions the rook to pawn, switching fronts instantly, aiming to harass pawns and restrict Wesley's rook mobility. Wesley So advances his king to f3, boldly centralizing, turning the monarch into an active warrior rather than a passive spectator. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave plays rc5, cutting laterally, keeping pressure constant and denying Wesley easy penetration squares. Wesley So brings his rook to d2, contesting open files and preparing to challenge Maxime's active rook presence. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave fires f5, a sharp check that disrupts coordination and forces Wesley's king into calculation mode. Wesley So calmly retreats his king to e2, absorbing the check without panic, keeping the structure intact. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave swings to rg5, maintaining harassment and refusing to let Wesley settle into comfort. Wesley So pushes g4, a bold pawn thrust, gaining space while daring Maxime to clarify intentions. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave replies rc5, resetting pressure and refusing to overextend prematurely. Wesley So steps kd3, centralizing further, clearly confident in his king's safety despite the rook threats. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave strikes with rd5a, forcing immediate reaction and testing Wesley's endgame precision. Wesley So answers k2, keeping balance, neither retreating too far nor allowing infiltration. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave repeats rc5, probing patiently, grinding the position inch by inch. Wesley So advances b4, gaining queenside space and signaling long-term territorial ambitions. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave responds rc3, invading deeper, rook active and dangerous. Wesley So blocks with rd3, challenging the rook directly and stabilizing the third rank item. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave checks with rc2 forcing the king to choose carefully under pressure. Wesley So moves kf3, stepping towards safety while keeping central influence. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave slides rat-2, switching targets again, relentless and slippery. Wesley So plays h4, fixing kingside structure and preventing future pawn storms. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave answers g6, solidifying dark squares and preparing king's safety. Wesley So advances kf4, aggressively central, signaling confidence and endgame mastery. Maxime Machiel-Lagrave responds h6, creating luft and limiting back rank tactics. Wesley So brings rc3, contesting activity and finally challenging Maxime's rook dominance. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave fires Rf2 on, a precise check to keep initiative alive. Wesley So calmly steps key G3, absorbing pressure with composure. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave retreats Ret2, resetting the battlefield yet again. Wesley So repositions Kf3, maintaining central command and flexibility. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave marches Kd6, fully committing the king to battle. Wesley So checks with Rd3-3, sizing tempo and forcing Maxime to react. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave answers K6, steady and unshaken under pressure. Wesley So plays Rc3, reasserting control over key files and squares. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave returns Kd6, stubbornly holding ground. Wesley So jumps Rc8, a sudden activation, Rook penetrating deep like a spear. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave captures Rx3, grabbing material and counterpunching sharply. Wesley So responds Rj8, shifting threats toward the king's side with intent. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave pushes G5, opening lines and inviting complications. Wesley So checks with Rg6, forcing king movement and keeping initiative. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave steps K5, boldly central, despite danger. Wesley So captures Rxx6, scooping a pawn and weakening Maxime's structure. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave replies Gx4, striking back immediately, no mercy given. Wesley So recaptures Rxf4, restoring material balance and keeping pressure alive. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave plays Rb3, attacking pawns and forcing defensive accuracy. Wesley So pushes b5, creating a dangerous passer and shifting the endgame narrative. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave brings his king to f6, stepping toward the center, trying to restrain Wesley So's growing endgame pressure. Wesley So swings the rook to h6 with check, actively harassing the black king and keeping initiative firmly in hand. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave moves his king to g7, choosing safety while staying alert to rook threats. Wesley So repositions the rook to a5, maintaining pressure patiently without overcommitting. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave answers with Rb4, activating the rook aggressively along the fourth rank. Wesley So centralizes with Rd5, dominating key files and restricting black's counterplay. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave steps back to Kf6, stubbornly holding his ground under sustained pressure. Wesley So repeats Rr5, keeping the bind tight and the black king uncomfortable. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave moves Kg6, the king shifting again as space continues to shrink. Wesley So pushes e4, a strong central advance that strengthens control and signals the decisive phase. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave plays A-bon, seeking counterplay from behind the pawns. Wesley So calmly returns Rd5, shutting down entry squares with precise coordination. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave checks with Rf4, trying to gain tempo and disrupt the setup. Wesley So sidesteps to kc3, composed and confident despite the checks. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave continues with Ardougne, persisting with checks as options diminish. Wesley So steps boldly to Kafau, centralizing the king and asserting dominance. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave gives another check with Rf09, clinging to activity. Wesley So calmly retreats to kc3, absorbing pressure without losing control. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave repeats Ragone, the rook oscillating as counterplay fades. Wesley So moves kf3, central once more, completely unfazed by repetition. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave checks again with Rf1, but the threat is clearly running out. Wesley So advances k3, marching the king forward and tightening the grip. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave slides the rook to gone, repositioning as checking chances disappear. Wesley So activates rd7, a powerful penetration deep into black's position. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave plays a6, creating luft and distraction, though far too late. Wesley So pushes b6, the passed pawn charging forward relentlessly. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave captures with rx d4, grabbing material in a desperate bid for counterplay. Wesley So steps kd4, perfectly coordinating king and rook in textbook fashion. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave moves kf6, still resisting, but clearly under heavy strain. Wesley So captures rx b7, removing a key defender and strengthening the passer. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave repositions with Ragone, trying to stay active despite the worsening situation. Wesley So plays re7, placing the rook ideally behind the advanced pawn. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave moves k6, bracing for the final defensive stand. Wesley So captures rx a6, eliminating remaining queenside counterplay. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave steps to kd6, but the king is running out of safe squares. Wesley So pushes b7, delivering a forcing check with the pawn, one step from promotion. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave retreats k7, driven back under relentless pressure durch Stollenjai. Wesley So plays rb6, cutting off escape routes with ruthless precision. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave moves kbite, cornered, and nearly helpless. Wesley So calmly plays rb2, a quiet regroup that seals the position. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave tries rg4, a final attempt to activate the rook. Wesley So advances kd5, the king marching forward with decisive authority. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave plays r8, passive defense, as hope continues to fade. Wesley So pushes a5, opening lines and accelerating the endgame conversion. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave checks with rd8, a last effort to disturb coordination. Don't. Wesley So steps kc5, calmly sidestepping and maintaining full control. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave plays re8, blocking desperately but without real effect. Wesley So advances kd6, the king stepping into the heart of the position. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave gives Ardate one final check in a clearly lost struggle. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave delivers Ardate, a final checking attempt, swinging the rook desperately to disrupt Wesley So's king coordination one last time. Wesley So calmly answers K7, stepping forward with absolute control, the white king sealing the endgame and concluding the battle decisively. The video ends here. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. Please don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel to support me. Thank you again, everyone. See you in the next video.